Alan, tell us about the War of the Rohirrim. Give us the breadth of the story.
I hate this story so much.
This is a prequel to The Lord of the Rings, and there are some direct connections to the Peter Jackson trilogy, okay, story-wise. But give us just the broad strokes. We don't need that much.
Okay, strap in, folks. Here we go. Takes place long before the events of Lord of the Rings. We're in Rohan. The king is getting old. I'm gonna so mess this up.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Getting old, and he has 2 sons and a daughter. The daughter is, let's just say, she's strong and she's brave, and one of the rivals of Rohan, his son is single. They know each other, and the son, Wolf, pledges his love to the young princess Hera. And she says, I'm not going to marry any man because I'm a strong woman.
Yeah.
And Wolf gets angry. Yeah, but we could build politics. And Wolf's father gets involved, and the king accidentally kills him. And so there's this conflict now between Wolf and Hera. And the whole movie is about trying to get the tribes back together in some peaceful way without having to marry Wolf in the process. How's that?
That was great, Alan. That was great. Before we talk about the story, let's talk about the animation. It is wildly inconsistent. There are action scenes that are clearly some rotoscoping, computers involved, that look really good, that are in the spirit of Peter Jackson's vision for Lord of the Rings, which is really channeling Tolkien's vision for Lord of the Rings. So some of it is phenomenal and some is utter crap. I feel like they had different teams working on this that were like, oh, we'll have this team do the this big action scene. We'll have them do that. And then we'll have this team do this fight scene or just dialogue scene. Wildly inconsistent in the quality of the animation. So that was a bit distracting. I did get kind of caught up when they had flourishes of the original music from Lord of the Rings, which I really enjoy. I love those soundtracks. So, and it's filled with the member berries. Remember that? Remember these things? You've got and there is a really annoying cameo at the very end. A cameo in animation form of a major character from the Peter Jackson's trilogy. Like, they must have paid for his likeness to be able to do this. That took me out of it. But there are some, while there's like stuff that works, like, okay, that's a fine action sequence. The premise is where this falls short. I didn't hate this movie because I saw the potential of what it could be. Maybe they can really pull off like some other stories in the world of Lord of the Rings using animation. And I'll say right off the bat, is this better than Rings of Power? Yes, it is. It is better. It is at least focused on telling a single story. The problem is, so it's like, yeah, it's better than that. But where it's similar and fails is Hera. The character is, she's total girl boss. It's a made up character that really isn't part of the lore, according to LOTR expert Gary Beekler of Nerdrotic. It's so this is just kind of a perversion of Lord of the Rings. And while I was like, all right, that was okay, it really doesn't advance or make things better. So where the Amazon series Rings of Power is really bottom of the basement, boring, awful, just dismissible, this is above that in some respects. Alan, what did you think of The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim?
Yeah, you said it, a girl boss. That's all this movie is a story of a girl boss who is the princess being married off because of patriarchy. And then at the end, sorry to spoil this, but becomes the king or the leader of Rohan. And that's, she doesn't change throughout the whole thing. I'm going to say the controversial thing here. We've been getting a lot of female protagonist movies, and they have not been good, to the point where a female protagonist movie is boring and bland. And it's not because it's a female protagonist. It's because we don't know how to write female protagonist characters.
Bingo.
And because Hera here, she is the same person from beginning to end. Her entire quest is to overcome the patriarchy. Literally, that's what this movie is about: overcoming the patriarchy, and that's not good character development.
She has no personal journey at all.
Exactly.
She's great. I don't want to get married, and that's it. So they took a Tolkien story, which could have been great, and inserted a modern female character right in the middle of what is a good story that could have made a really compelling film, and it fucking ruined it. Yeah, I think the only reason I enjoyed parts of it was because, in contrast, Rings of Power is so bad. It's so colossally bad.
Yeah,
and
but you can't
The
judge
Hobbit,
a movie. Yeah.
The Hobbit, let me finish. The Hobbit, I despised those Hobbit movies. Could not believe it even came from the same person. So the fact that I despised The Hobbit, Rings of Power was a colossal downgrade and just awful in every way. This was like, okay, it's a 4 or 5, which is more than I can say for Hobbit and Rings of Power.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, the other thing, character arcs. I mean, you should grow as a character. You should grow as a person when you watch it.
Yes.
At the end, sorry to spoil the movie for you, but at the end, her brothers, the heir to the kingdom, are killed, and the king says, "Well, you're clever, and that's why you should be king." Because during battle, she did something clever to survive. Therefore, she should be king. That, to me, those aren't the qualities of leadership. And again, I'll point to bad character development. I compare her to Merry and Pippin. When you look at Merry and Pippin and the way they act and the way they interact with others and themselves, you get a sense of their personality. You get a sense of their character. You get a sense of the struggles that they're both going to have to overcome by the end of the 3 movies. Pippin, he's the goofball of the troop, but he has to ultimately become a hero at some point. That's character development. You're in one position, and by the end of the movie, you've changed fundamentally as a person. And this movie, no, she does a clever thing, and now she's king. That's not character development. That's not anything we can relate to. And look, ultimately, you have to criticize and judge a movie based on what you're given. And this is bland. There's nothing behind this. There are images of Lord of the Rings, as you say, member berries, but none of it feels like it has any weight that every single damn character in the 3 movies had in this movie. And regarding the animation, some of it's great. I think the CG stuff, especially with the map, is great. When they got to the parts where they're talking, it felt like a WB television animated cartoon.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I think WB does great animation for television, but that does not translate to the big screen. And that's the problem I have with animation with this one. So yeah, definitely not a recommendation. I'll give it a 3. I'll say it's less better than Craven.
I'll give it a 4.5, but
you liked it better than Craven, yeah.
Well, I liked it better than Rings of Power. Like I could do with some more Lord of the Rings. It's the perfect of all the trilogies of movies. If you rank trilogies of movies, the Lord of the Rings is the best. Great beginning, incredible middle, and a satisfying conclusion. You cannot say that about Terminator Alien, Star Wars, even the original trilogy. You cannot say that. It is the most consistent. The Dark Knight trilogy. Look at trilogies of movies. Lord of the Rings did it best. So we're getting scraps here, and it's all less than that, and will only ever be less than that, because in the era we are now, if they try to redo Lord of the Rings, you know what they'll do. They'll snake Gandalf. They'll pull a Snape on Gandalf. Oh my God.
No, they'll do it to Aragorn. I mean, I guess we
Yeah.
now have a black Aragorn. We're gonna have one in the remake.
Yeah, it's you cannot, because of modern sensibilities, so-called, that I don't think audiences like it. I think the creatives in Hollywood feel they must do this thing, and it is ruining the possibility of something great being done. I'll say this: Brian Cox was good as Helm. I want a hammer. I want one of those hammers.
You have one of those hammers, don't you?
Well, I don't know. Do you?
I do. It's in the
Where
car.
is it?
It's in the car.
It's in the car. Great. You in your house for okay, cool. Yeah. Alan got a hammer popcorn bucket from this movie. The best thing to come out of this movie was Brian Cox's vocal performance and the popcorn bucket, which exists. So there you go. Non-recommends from us. And I would say maybe catch this on streaming at some point, because it is objectively, would you say it's better than Rings of Power?
Yes, but again, you have to judge the movie on its own. You can't, it's not better because Rings of Power exists.
That's fair. Fair, Alan, fair. Alan is just, and he's the fairest of them all when it comes to critics.
Yeah. I want to be the hottest, though.